The sound of splashing used to echo through the community pool every summer. Kids laughing, parents chatting under umbrellas. It was the heartbeat of our neighborhood. But that all changed when Patricia Hendris, our HOA president, better known as Karen, with a clipboard, decided that children create unnecessary disturbance. Her first move? A bright red sign that read, "Pool closed to minors, HOA Regulation 14B." The morning she hung it up, parents stood frozen, jaws slack, sunscreen bottles in hand. My granddaughter Emma was clutching her floaties, eyes welling up. Patricia just smirked. "Rules are rules," she said, tapping her pen on the sign like it was divine scripture. I asked her what Regulation 14B even was. She snapped, "You'd know if you read your HOA packet, Mr. Morrison." Then she strutted off in her floppy hat, like a queen surveying her empty kingdom. Now, I'm not the kind of man who enjoys drama, but that day, I saw tears in Emma's eyes, and something in me clicked. That pool wasn't Patricia's. It belonged to every family who paid their dues. Word spread fast. Parents gathered at the community center demanding answers, and Patricia arrived armed with her rule book and a fake smile. "The decision is final," she said. "Liability concerns. Kids are messy. The insurance company agrees." But I'd already checked. The insurance policy hadn't changed in 5 years. She was lying. Then she made her biggest mistake, threatening to fine anyone who even approached the pool gate. $500 per violation, she barked. That's when my son, Ryan, stepped forward, calm, confident, and wearing the same smirk I used to see on him before a high school debate win. "You sure about that fine, ma'am?" he asked. Patricia gave him a condescending glance. "Yes, I'm sure." "And who are you?" Ryan's grin widened. "Your worst administrative nightmare." "I'm an attorney." The room fell silent. Even Patricia blinked. Ryan reached into his briefcase, pulled out a thick folder, and placed it on the table. "Here's every HOA bylaw, county ordinance, and civil code you've violated in the past month. Let's talk about liability." The crowd erupted into whispers. Patricia's face went pale, but she tried to keep her composure. "Fine," she stammered. "You can't scare me with paperwork." Ryan smiled. "I don't need to scare you. I just need to make one phone call." And that's exactly what he did. Right before diving, headfirst into her so-called restricted pool. When Ryan's head broke the surface of the water, the entire crowd gasped. The pool, once empty and silent, now echoed with cheers. Parents clapped, kids laughed, and Patricia stood frozen, her pen trembling in her hand like it had just betrayed her. "You're trespassing!" she shouted, voice cracking. But Ryan only floated on his back, arms stretched, looking as calm as a man could be. "Actually," he said, "I'm a dues-paying member of this HOA, which means I'm allowed to use community facilities, just like everyone else." The crowd murmured approval. Patricia's jaw clenched. "You're violating my posted regulation." Ryan smirked. "Your personal memo isn't a regulation. It was never approved by the board, and it directly violates Section 5C of the HOA Charter." He tapped the laminated sign beside the pool with one wet finger. "This, Ms. Hendris, is nothing more than vandalism." Her face turned redder than the stop sign at the corner. "I'll have you fined and banned." Ryan climbed out of the water, slicked his hair back, and pulled out his phone. "You might want to rethink that, because I just emailed the entire HOA board with a copy of your unauthorized amendment and a summary of the fines you've been illegally imposing. Oh, and the county's compliance office is CC'd." You could practically hear the panic in Patricia's breath. She lunged for the sign, yanking it off the fence, but the damage was done. Parents filmed everything on their phones. The next day, our quiet little neighborhood was buzzing. Screenshots of Ryan's email were everywhere. Next-door posts, group chats, even a few printed copies pinned to mailboxes. Patricia called an emergency meeting to clarify misunderstandings. I showed up early, just to see her squirm. The board sat at the front, and Patricia walked in carrying a mountain of folders, her smile forced. "Good evening, neighbors," she began, voice too sweet to trust. "There's been confusion regarding the pool policy." Ryan cut her off. "Confusion isn't the right word, Patricia." Fraud might be closer. The room gasped again. He pulled up photos of the pool sign, copies of the bylaws, and the official HOA charter. Each piece fit like a puzzle of her downfall. "Unless you can produce written approval from the board," he continued, "you've overstepped your authority. That's grounds for removal." Patricia's eyes darted across the board, searching for support, but they all looked away. The woman who once ruled with fear now sat powerless in her own meeting. And Ryan wasn't done yet. The meeting room was packed wall to wall, neighbors shoulder to shoulder, whispering like it was the trial of the century. Patricia sat at the center table, her usual smugness replaced by nervous fidgeting. The board members avoided eye contact, shuffling their papers as Ryan calmly laid out his binder. He didn't yell. He didn't grandstand. He simply spoke, each word measured and sharp. For weeks, this HOA has operated under an unlawful restriction, one enacted by a single person, without the board's consent or a community vote. That's a violation of the HOA Charter, Article 2, Section 5. Patricia forced a laugh. "This is absurd." "It was a temporary safety measure. Kids were running wild, splashing, making noise." Ryan raised a brow. "So you banned all minors? Even supervised children? That's not safety, Patricia. That's discrimination." Her smile faltered. He held up the insurance documents she'd cited as her justification. "And as for liability, this policy hasn't changed in 5 years. You forged a rule and hid behind it." Murmurs turned into outright chatter. Parents were glaring now, some standing up. One mother shouted, "My son's birthday was ruined because of you." Another yelled, "We pay dues for a pool you locked us out of." Patricia slammed her hand on the table. "Order! Order!" Ryan didn't flinch. "You want order? Then we'll have it." According to Section 9A, when an HOA officer acts outside their authority, a special hearing must be held to determine removal. The board chair, a quiet man named Carl, finally spoke. "He's right, Patricia. We've reviewed his documents. The motion to remove you as HOA president is on the table." Patricia's jaw dropped. "You can't do this to me. I've served this community for 8 years." Carl sighed. "You've served yourself, Patricia." The vote was swift, 4-1. Patricia's reign was over, but she wasn't going down without one last scene. She stood up, pointing at Ryan. "You think you're some big hero? You've humiliated me." Ryan smiled politely. "No, ma'am. You did that all on your own." Gasps, whispers, then applause. Patricia stormed out, knocking over her water bottle as she went. The board announced that the pool was open effective immediately, and the kids cheered like it was the 4th of July. But later that night, when the lights dimmed and the laughter faded, I noticed a dark figure near the pool fence, Patricia, staring silently, gripping something in her hand. She wasn't done yet. It was past midnight when I heard the rattle of the pool gate. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then came the faint clink of metal, followed by the soft scrape of wire cutters. I slipped on my boots and stepped out onto the patio. Under the moonlight, there she was, Patricia Hendress, the ex-president herself, hunched over the gate like a thief in pearls. She didn't notice me, watching as she snipped through the lock she'd installed weeks ago, the sign she'd once nailed up. "Pool closed to minors" was now clutched in her hand. She tossed it into the water, where it sank slowly to the bottom. "Patricia!" I called out. She spun around, startled, eyes wide with guilt. "Oh, I was just breaking into community property." I finished. "You've really lost it, haven't you?" She scowled. "This pool used to be mine to manage. I made it beautiful. Now it's chaos." I shook my head. "It's not yours. It never was." Before she could respond, headlights flashed across the parking lot. Ryan's car rolled in, his window down. "Funny time for a swim. Ms. Hendress," he said, stepping out. Phone already recording. Her composure crumbled. "You think you can just ruin my name? I built this neighborhood." Ryan crossed his arms. "And now you're trespassing on it. That's criminal, Patricia. Want to add vandalism to the list? Her breathing quickened. For a second, I thought she might actually lunge. But instead, she burst into tears. I just wanted things to be perfect again, she sobbed. Before everyone turned against me, Ryan sighed, walking closer. Perfection doesn't mean control, Patricia. You pushed too far. She dropped to her knees, staring at her reflection in the pool. They'll never forgive me. Ryan crouched beside her. Then start by apologizing. The next morning, Patricia did just that. At the emergency HOA meeting, she stood before the neighbors she'd alienated and offered something rare for her, an honest apology. No excuses, no paperwork. Just a quiet, trembling, I was wrong. The crowd accepted it with cautious claps. She resigned from the HOA for good, and for the first time in months, peace settled over our neighborhood. A week later, the pool reopened officially. Banners, snacks, and a cannonball contest hosted by none other than Ryan himself. Kids splashed, laughter filled the air, and Emma finally got her swim. As I sat back in my chair watching her float, I thought about Patricia, not as a villain, but as a warning. Power without empathy always sinks, and sometimes it takes one good splash to wash everything clean. If you enjoyed watching Karen's meltdown as much as I did, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite moment, and subscribe for more wild HOA stories every week. You won't want to miss the next one.